My first carbon wheel set were Zip 404s, aluminium braking track with carbon fibre fairing glued to that track. Remember the first 404s? That was on an Orbea Orca Gold bike. Nice bike too. Just after that, about 9 years ago, YOELEO contacted me and asked if I'd like to do a review on the carbon wheel set. And they were full carbon wheels, so they had a carbon brake track. So I said yes, and I've still got them. Here they are here. The narrow ones, 50mm section, and I've got the carbon brake track, which was just coming into vogue then. So we've got steel bladed spokes, and we've got Novatec hubs. And of course, they're rim brake. Now these wheels came plain, just plain black, so I bought some Eastern stickers and put them on. Then about 6.5 years ago, YOELEO sent me this R6 frame. I had it built up and the wheels on it were YOELEO disc brake wheels, of course, because it's a disc brake frame. And I've still got them as well. I put them on the gravel bike temporarily, but this is him here. So Joytech hubs again, ordinary steel spokes and full carbon rim. So that was my second set of YOELEO wheels. Since then, I've had YOELEO frames, the R6 and then the R12, the Aero one, and then of course the R11, and then of course the G21 over here, which is the gravel bike. My experience over the years with YOELEO products is they're not necessarily the lightest on the market, but they are good value for money because they're so robust. Now, I haven't heard from YOELEO for a while until now. Nice partitioned foam inserts which hold the wheels in place in the box and separate enough so they don't touch, causing any damage in transport. Small bag of parts. And the usual soft flat foam bags, one for each wheel. So this is YOELEO's Pro C wheel set. This particular set is C60, so 60mm depth. They also come in 88, or you can go down inside to 50 or 38 or 35, your choice. Little label here says SAT technology. That means there's no rim tape, so you can directly mount your Torren tube without a rim tape. Also says tubeless, so tubed and tubeless obviously, clincher or tubeless. And it says it's also rim brake, so you can get rim brake version. And they're UCI approved. In the bag of bits, care and instructions, 4 UCI stickers if you'd like to put them on your wheels, 2 spare spokes, 2 valve extenders and a valve remover. The instructions will be in the language of the country that the wheels were shipped to. This one is in English. First impressions, you know what wheels these are because the logo is quite big, YOELEO. So decent size logo and it follows the rim around. The rim is a matte finish, so if you've got a matte frame, it'll go with that. The spokes are not ultra wide like we've been looking at wheels lately, so they're fairly narrow and they're not carbon fibre, they're steel or stainless steel. The hubs, black, of course, sort of a semi-gloss, matte to semi-gloss finish. Very nice looking hubs, and the way the spokes go in the hubs, very clean. So there's a bit of an air of quality on these wheels. So first thing we're going to do is find out how much they weigh. Front wheel first. 630 grams. And the rear wheel 680 grams, so that's 1310 grams a pair, excluding the tubeless valve stems. So we've got a matte finish on the rims and there's no coating on there, so nothing on the rim except for the decals. And the decals are transfers, so they're very thin. You can only just feel them from the surface. So they're not really stickers that stick out when you can peel them off. These ones, you'll have difficulty peeling these off if you wanted to remove them. Not that you would want to. So 60mm deep rims, and the rim shape, they're not flat. They're round, so there's no flat surface there. Now, because there's no holes in the rim, you don't need a rim tape. You can just mount your tyres and tubes straight on there, or if you're using tubeless, the tyre straight on there and put in the liquid and pump them up straight away. However, having no holes means if you ever need to replace a spoke, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, because to get the nipple through, if you need to do that, then it's going to have to be accessed via the valve hole, and you're going to have to trace your nipple all the way through to wherever the broken spoke is and replace it from there. However, depending on what happens, sometimes you can hold that nipple in place, undo the broken spoke and replace a new one and use that same nipple and do it up, so you won't have to trace the nipple through the rim. So no holes in the rim bed except for one, the valve hole. Both the front and the rear rim are identical, and so we just need to measure one. The inside is 23 millimeters. And the outside of the rim, where the tyre comes in, 28.75-ish, 29. And the actual widest part of the rim, which is further down from where the tyre intercepts the rim, is 31.14. Well, the website says 32, so we'll make it 32. So not narrow and not super wide. The ideal tyre size for these would be between 28 and 30C. These rims are manufactured using the filament winding technique. However, they're not the lightest out there on the market for this size and profile. And the reason is because, as you see the valve hole, give you a close up here, you can see how thick it is on this section here where the spoke nipples come into the rim there. Very, very thick there. And the rest is quite thin. So that's where your extra weight is for these wheels, put there for strength. However, that's still a very nice lightweight wheel. The rims have little ventilation holes, one each side, so 2 per rim. The spokes straight pull and they're stainless steel, not carbon fibre, and the brand is Pillar or Pilar, depending how you want to say it. It is a double L, so it will be Pillar in English. Now the widths, they're very small spokes. We've got 1.68 millimeters in width and looks like 0.9 in depth. So yep, like teeny blade spokes. So on both wheels, both sides are straight pull spokes, and to replace a spoke, you just thread it straight through the hub. However, on the front wheel, like here, where it's radial on this side, you actually have to pull off the end cap, and that way you can get access to the spoke hole there in the hub. So you push your spoke through the hole there and up there. These wheels are 24 spokes, so there's 12 spokes this side, 12 spokes on the other side, and the same for the rear, 12 and 12. Now you've got radial on the front wheel on the non-rotor side, so the spokes come straight out from the hub like that. That just means you've got a slightly less amount of material, so slightly lighter weight. On the rotor side, we've got them crossing, and they cross twice, once there and once there, and the same with the rear wheel, crossing here and crossing there, so twice there, and the same on the rotor side, crossing twice, and they're touching as they go over, and that's fine because they're not carbon fibre. You can do it because they're steel spokes. The spoke nipples come through quite a way, so they're quite a bit exposed, so all you aerodynamic freaks who want recessed nipples, that's not the case with these wheels. Now let's have a look at the spoke tension. We'll do the spoke sound test first. Wow, no variation at all. Well, I can't hear it, can you? On the rotor side of the rear wheel, just a teeny variation, but wow, that's fantastic. Front wheel, non-rotor side. Just slightly high, but wow, they're so close in pitch. Just try the rotor side. That's amazing, they're so close. So both wheels, the tension sounds like they're almost identical. So let's see what the digital tension meter shows up. So the usual procedure, measure each spoke, both left and right of the wheel. Write those individual numbers down and then plug those numbers into a spoke calculator app. So we've got all the rear wheel numbers in. We've got it set at 5% variance, and we'll press update. You can see each individual number has a green tick, so that's good. That means every spoke is within 5% tolerance of each other. Each dot represents a spoke's tension, and the tighter the tension, the closer the dot will go toward the center of the circle, and less tension towards the perimeter of the circle. So as you can see, the spoke tensions on this rear wheel, all the tensions are very, very close to each other. The same procedure with the front wheel, all green ticks, that's good. And you can see on the graph there, all even tension, very, very good. These spokes can only just be called blade spokes because they're slightly wider or flatter than they are depth-wise. So they're so close to being an ordinary round spoke, it's not funny. However, we can still measure them because they're still flat on one side, only just. And in typical YOELEO fashion, I know I'm not going to find any out. Have a look for yourself, have a behind look. Checking close to the rim. And also down near the hub. Well, that pretty much does it. I can't even show you which is more or least out because they're all pretty much spot on, absolutely perfect, both front and rear wheels. Let's check out their true. Rear wheel first. Lateral deviation and the needles going between 67 and 90. So the difference is 0.23 millimeters. Excellent. The rear wheel's concentricity, the needles swinging between 3 and 24. So it's 0.21 millimeters. Very round. Over to the front wheel. Looks like we're doing concentricity first. The needles going between 26 and 46, so 0.2 millimeters. And lastly, lateral deviation, front wheel going between 28 and 49, so 0.21 millimeter deviation. Extremely true wheels. All the figures around the 0.2 millimeter mark, so this is indicating that it takes a very round rim to get harmonious measurements like these. Okay, let's see how central the wheels are with the dishing tool. So this is the front wheel. I'll just speed up some of the slow bits. Just recheck that. Perfect. Rear wheel. Zero. 0.1. 0. Okay, so 0.1 millimeter out on the rear wheel. So perfectly central. The hubs, steel bearings on both hub sets. Beautifully smooth, can't feel a thing when they're slow. And can't feel a thing when they're fast. A teeny bitty grab from the seals. In other words, you can't just turn the axle freely. A little bit of grab there. That's fine, it just means that it'll keep out the moisture and the dust better. Rear wheel with all four bearings spinning. Can't feel a thing. No, can't feel a thing. Beautifully smooth, buttery smooth as they say. Again, same thing, you turn a little bit of grab there because of the seals in there. That's fine, it means you're going to keep the weather out of your bearings. Now one thing really good on these YOELEO free hubs is you've got a hub saver. See the silver strip there? Because this is an aluminium body, then when your sprockets turn, they dig into the aluminium because aluminium's softer than the sprockets, which are steel. And they dig in and cause indentations on your free hub, and gradually over time they'll wear and your sprockets become loose on the free hub. And because you've got this harder steel strip here, a lot harder than the softer aluminium free hub body, it's going to stop significantly the digging in of the sprockets into that body. So that's a great idea. Clutch. Very positive clutch. Sounds like a DT style Swiss clutch. We'll have a look. Having a look inside the front hub, the caps come off easily with the fingers, and you can see there's a double seal there, double dust seal, and inside is a rubber O-ring. And the bearings in these wheels are steel, of course. And on the rotor side of the front wheel, those dust cap flanges are a little bit closer together than on the other side. And of course, there's an O-ring in that side as well. The rear wheel, the rotor side, double dust cap flanges, and on the inside O-ring, and steel bearings in the rear hub shell as well. Free hub side, as you see on the end cap, there's a single flange dust cap. Still has the O-ring inside, but a single flange dust cap. Bearings inside the free hub body are also steel. To access the clutch rings, we need to remove this aluminium split collar, spacer washer, the top clutch spring and the ring. And to get the bottom clutch ring out, you can turn the wheel upside down and it just falls out in your hand. But while the wheel's lying down flat like this, we'll just use a screwdriver and it comes out easily. And lastly, a plastic washer over the sealed bearing. Being the DT style clutch, so many hubs have this style of clutch now because they're just so easy to take apart and service. So swap over the clutch rings to these 60 tooth ones. You can see how fine the teeth are there compared to the original ones that come with the YOELEO hubs. Spring, spacer washer and split collar washer all go back in the same way they came out. So the clutch comes with a standard 36 engagements per revolution, and now we've made it 60. Ooh. Easy done, no tools required, except for those 2 screwdrivers. So you can make it a 48, a 54, a 60 or a 072, probably is, so whatever you desire. Free hub you can have in Shimano, SRAM or Campagnolo. So these new YOELEO wheels come up pretty much perfect in all the measurements, and that indicates mostly that the rim has been made extremely round and very consistent in thickness, especially at the spoke nipples. But the only thing I can pick on with these wheels is with their finish. They leave fingerprints very easily. Mind you, I did have tuna and salad for lunch, so probably got a bit of oil on my fingers. Well, enough measuring everything. Let's get some tyres and tubes on these wheels and get on the road. The back brake's fine, but the front one's rubbing. Can never get it perfect every time. Pretty much every time I put another set of wheels on, got to adjust the brake caliper. Right, done. Let's go for a ride.
I'll play 14.
The beginning of the ride.
Do this fast ones have to go slower then. Yeah, that's the only one. What about we have 14 groups?
So another ride in the bag. Hot today, about 38 degrees when we finished. So hence the water bottle's finished. I've got another one. Here we go. Have to drink. Always rehydrate after. So how do these YOELEO wheels go? Well, there's a few aspects of concern. The number one thing is performance. And the number one thing in performance really is outstanding out of all the features is comfort. And comfort due to the fact that you can have wider tyres. So for me, there's no way I'd ever go back to 25C and even 28s. I'm doubting whether I want to go back to 28s now, unfortunately, because I've got a whole stack of 28s, brand new in a box, as well as hardly touched secondhand as well, that I was going to go through. Looks like I'm not going to go back to 28s because these are so comfortable. These are 30C and the 32s are nice, but a little bit bouncy. I find the 30s just nice. So, and 55 PSI, and I weigh at the moment 77 kilos. So very nice having wide tyres. Apart from the comfort, when there's potholes in the road. And it's rough surfaces, you don't have to worry so much. If there's a pothole coming up, not that you go over it, you still dodge your potholes, but you don't have to worry over so much that you're going to bang flat out and get a puncture or something on the lip of the pothole. Whereas in 25s, probably you will. So it's almost like you can just ride over a lot of the bumps, almost like a hovercraft, but that's overstating it. But nevertheless, the feel is like that. And because your performance of your wheels goes from outside in, your tyre being the most important, tyres and tubes, then having these nice big fat tyres. I shouldn't call them fat because that is going to be ordinary now. 30 and 32C is pretty much going to be standard on pretty much all road bikes. Having ridden since I was 11 years old on road bikes, and I'm not going to go through all the history, but I do remember riding 19C, 21C, and then 23C. 23 was considered pretty much a fairly large bag of tyre. And then came 25s, oh, luxury. And now what have we got? 30s, it's ridiculous, 30s and 32s. How far are we going to go? Well, the other thing that's come a long way, of course, is the rims. So skinnier rims in the early days, and now the rims are wider. You can't have a wide tyre on a skinny rim. It doesn't really work out. It feels a bit squishy, feels a bit unbalanced. I'm not sure how to describe it, but if you've ever ridden wider tyres on rims that are too thin for them, you'll know what I mean. So having a wider rim is definitely a big benefit. And even better is, usually because you go wider rims, it means a heavier rim. Well, now with YOELEO using their new filament winding system, that's how you get these wider rims so light. I wasn't sure how they do it, but now I know. I saw on their site, did a bit of research, and sure enough, filament winding. What that means basically is when they wind the carbon fibre on, instead of laying it up in patches, they wind it on into the shape, and that it leaves less resin. So you've got more carbon. We've got the same amount of carbon probably, but less resin. It squeezes out the resin, so you don't have the unnecessary resin in there, which is basically plastic, isn't it? Resin is plastic, a hard plastic. So it squeezes a lot of that out, excess, and you don't need it. So you make a rim that's stronger because it's got just as much carbon fibre, less resin, so it's less weight as well. So you can make them wider for the same or even less weight than what the skinny rims used to be. So all in all, if you haven't tried wider tyres or at least 28s, try 28s. You won't go back to 25s ever again. If you're stuck with rim brakes, well, you're stuck with probably 25s at the maximum, maybe 26s if you can get them, or maybe you can squeeze in 28s if you're lucky. So having the disc brakes allows you to have wider tyres on your frame set. And once you try wider tyres, there's no way you're going to go back. However, comparing these to other wider wheels, not the narrow ones, the wider ones, well, there's not a lot of difference, except these have the steel spokes instead of carbon. And these wheels ring a bit. A ring? Yeah, they ring a little bit. Well, you know what I mean, like when you accelerate, it's not just a tyre noise going zhoosh zhoosh on the road, it's also through the wheel. You get a sort of a slight ringing noise as well. Well, that is more so than with the carbon fibre spoke ones. Carbon fibre spokes tend to absorb a lot more noise, whereas these ones tend to ring. Does that make sense? Ring? The weight of these wheels being 1330 grams for 60mm deep is excellent, but just remember the tyres you use, the wider you go, the heavier the tyre is going to be as well. So if you are very lean and fit and every gram counts because you're going uphill, well then sure, get some really nice light tyres and of course TPU tubes or tubeless. And around about 80 kilos plus, then it won't matter so much. Don't ride those ultra thin tyres, it's not worth it. Just go for some nice standard decent tyres, GP5000s, I wouldn't go any lighter than them. If you are a heavier rider, then the wider wheels are going to benefit you so much more. You can run those wider tyres and you're going to enjoy your riding so much more. So say goodbye to those skinny tyres where you have to pump them up to 100 PSI and you feel every bump in the road as you go. And as soon as you hit a significant bump, bang, you've got to pinch flat. Well, no more. One thing I noticed, I was at the cafe, we're all walking back to our bikes, putting our helmets on. I looked at my wheels on the bike and I'm going, there's something missing on these wheels. And it was the spokes. I didn't notice the spokes on the wide 5mm, you know, the carbon fiber fat spokes. You sort of go, oh, they're nice fat spokes. On these, you don't even notice them. It's just like ordinary spokes. So when the bike's stationary, you sort of notice the spokes a bit more, a bit like mags on a car. You just got to look at a car when it's stopped or going very slow, and you can notice the spoked mags. Whereas when the car's going along normal speed, then you really don't notice the wheels, do you? Well, you notice the wheels, they might be shiny, but you don't notice actual pattern. And it's the same with the spokes. It's only until your bike's stationary and you go, ooh, they're fat spokes, or don't notice the spokes. Talking about the spokes, if you ever break a spoke, say in an accident, then you can replace these with just ordinary everyday steel straight pull spokes. You don't need to worry about having a certain carbon fiber bladed spoke, just any old spoke will do. Mind you, these do come with spare spokes anyhow. The rear hub, using that DT style clutch system, easy to take apart, no tools required. Clean it out if you need to do that, get rid of the water, re-grease it, pack it back together, bang, you're done, easy. And if you ever want to change the points of engagement, like to a 60, whatever you want to do, then it's easy to do as well. And the thing with the YOELEO products, which I've said in previous videos as well, they may not be the lightest, but they are extremely robust. So if you are a heavier rider, you put out a lot of watts, and all the road surface abuses you and the bike, then these sort of wheels are probably better for you than, say, super duper light ones. The other benefit of having strong, robust wheels is for your disc brakes. They're applying a lot of torsional force on your wheels through your spokes, so a strongly built wheel is going to handle the braking a lot better as well. If you are interested in a set of YOELEO wheels like these, then I'll put a discount code in the description below and it'll give you a certain percentage off. Anyhow, I'll see you soon. I've got to keep drinking. Keep riding.